What's going on, guys? Seth here with a tasty bit, giving you guys a real quick clip of a segment I had in my most recent stream, which was Wilson, how to melt your enemies with ease. If you're curious about Wilson, make sure to check that out. I've been very much enjoying that game. You're going to hear more about that game in the future, so if you want to see what it's all about, make sure to go check out that stream. But during that stream, I had someone pop in by the name of Virtua Feed, who asked me, 2020 is a huge year. Final Fantasy 7, Half-Life, Alex, Cyberpunk, next-gen consoles, what are you most jazzed for? In which I feel like we had a really good conversation about the year and what's coming up, and I kind of wanted to get you guys in on that conversation as well. So in case you didn't watch that stream and you didn't get to that part, this is that conversation in its entirety. So enjoy, and let me know in the comments, what are you most jazzed about in 2020? Is it the new consoles? And if it is, which console are you most excited for? Is it games, obviously? Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy 7, Ghost of Tsushima, Resident Evil 3 remake, Last of Us. There's so many things coming out in 2020. It's going to be a huge year. So just let me know in the comments what you're most excited for when it comes to this year. And enjoy. 2020 is a huge year. Final Fantasy 7, Half-Life Alyx, Cyberpunk, next-gen consoles. What are you most jazzed for? That's a big question. The biggest thing I'm excited for is new consoles. I'm a big tech nerd, so the idea of just new stuff is exciting. It's really exciting for me because the consoles are a significant jump, specifically that we found out that the Xbox Series X is double the power of the Xbox One X. That's a significant jump. That ray tracing is going to be standard in consoles is huge because it's not even standard on PCs right now. Like, a lot of people I know don't have cards that have ray tracing enabled. And I've been talking it up a lot on my channel, that it's essentially new technology when it comes to graphics. So if you don't, backtracking, if you don't have access to that, it's not even like just turning the graphics up. It's like literally allowing you to see the game differently. So that the consoles are all just going to jump to have that is fucking awesome. Specifically, that those consoles are probably going to be around $500. That's a really fucking cheap price for entry into graphics like that. And then 12 teraflops on the Series X is a significant chunk of power when it comes to a GPU for that price point. It's crazy because the RTX 2080 Ti is 13 point something teraflops. Not that that's the only factor that goes into the power of a console or a computer, but it is an identifier of what that console will be able to accomplish graphically. And so $500 to get access to that is really fucking crazy. And then of course whatever these new consoles bring, we don't even know much about the features. We know about the Xbox's features, but I think Sony will be a little more experimental with theirs, just because they did some interesting things with the PS4, whereas Xbox just made a solid ass console. So did PlayStation, but the PS4 has that touchpad on it, which is really kind of interesting. Has the speaker. I'm not a big fan of that. Had the light bar. I'm not a big fan of that. But they did some interesting things with it. I like the touchpad. I hope they bring that back. Although I think it's underutilized. Just new tech. That's the biggest. That's the thing I think you have to be the most excited for, is the consoles, because this is the new era. If you like video games, this is the beginning of more new video games. After that, it's crazy. Xbox Series X, 2080 Super. Exactly. Yeah. So you get where I'm coming from. It's just crazy. I keep telling people that too. I'm like, dude, it's like a fucking. You can buy a graphics card for like $700, and the Xbox Series X is gonna be able to match that for less money. So I don't know what deals are being worked on in the background when it comes to Microsoft and AMD, and I'm sure Sony will have the same shit going on with their own proprietary technologies that they're working on with that. But you're really going to be getting a deal, because I know they're not gonna. These consoles aren't going to cost $600. That mistake was already made. That lesson was already learned with the PS3. So for someone to repeat that would be suicide. not suicide in the sense of them failing. PS3 is one of the best-selling consoles of all time, but in reputation, it's going to take 7-8 years to recover from that. That's a long time. The PS3 was the big mistake of Sony. So, that's a big risk to humor that price. So I think 500 is perfect. I don't think you'll get a $400 console. It's just too much shit going on in that console to be at that price range. So anyway, yeah, new consoles, most exciting thing for sure. Just by default, it has to be for me. And then after that, it's a tie between Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and The Last of Us Part 2. Those three games are my most anticipated, what I assume will be my games of the year. One of those, of course, will be the game of the year. I am speculating that's going to be Cyberpunk 2077 just because it's a new IP. But, Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time. So part 2 of that has potential of being my game of the year. And Final Fantasy VII is Final Fantasy VII. It's a legendary legacy game that just, is beloved and treasured by everyone. So remaking that is a surefire way to potentially get my game of the year vote. I also got to play it, and it's awesome. So those three things come after new consoles for sure. And Cyberpunk, I think, is the most interesting just because it's the biggest departure, it's the biggest risk, and it's the biggest possible reward for us and CD Projekt Red. Just because it's something we don't have yet. So the possibilities with this game is are huge, but there's also a big chance for disappointment as well. Not for me. I saw the gameplay behind closed doors. It looks awesome, but it might not be what people want. It's possible, and if it's not, it's all that excitement is gonna turn into anger, which is just how it works most of the time. And wait, I leveled. So yeah, those three games, and then like you said, Half-Life Alyx. I mean, that's such a big deal, and I don't think it's being talked about enough. But regardless of if it's VR or not, it's a big deal because we're actually getting a Half-Life game. That's really kind of weird, and it's a full Half-Life game. It's not a Half-Life experience. It's a full game apparently. I guess it's the same length as a full-length game. I'm also a big proponent of VR, so I think this is actually a huge deal for VR. I think it's going to move headsets. I think it's going to sell more headsets than without it, because there are people who have been... It's an understatement to say there's people who have been waiting for Half-Life for a long time. I think there's people out there who may take the dive into getting a headset to play Half-Life Alyx just so they can play a Half-Life game. I'm curious about it. I have a Vive, so I'm going to have to rehook that thing up and find a room for it. But yeah, I'm really excited for that as well. And then, some other stuff that's exciting is Ghost of Tsushima. I keep joking. It's a big joke for me, but Ghost of Tsushima is going to be awesome. I can already tell. But it's not going to be, in my opinion, I don't think it'll be better than Final Fantasy VII, Cyberpunk, or Last of Us Part 2. So it's picking one hell of a year to come out. But it looks fucking awesome, so I'm really excited for that. Neo 2, really excited for that. Resident Evil 3 Remake, I'm so excited for. Resident Evil 2 Remake was my second favorite game of 2019. So the anticipation for Resident Evil 3 Remake is high. I just watched the gameplay of that on my channel, Tasty Loot Gaming on YouTube, and I'm so thoroughly impressed by it. It's insane. Capcom went from kind of questionable, I don't know if they can recover from their lack of giving a shit about what consumers want, to just knocking every single game they make out of the park and then some. Like, at this point, they're just like flexing and bragging about how awesome their games are, and it's awesome. Like, my doubts with what they had going on before are completely gone because they've just went, hey, that's the old us. We don't do that shit anymore. We make amazing games now again. And I'm like, awesome, welcome back. I got nothing to complain about anymore. Hell yeah. VNN released a good vid yesterday about Half-Life Alyx. It's just a shame the headsets are sold out. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't know that. My Index and 2080 Ti are ready at least, throwing a launch party with all the old school Half-Lifers. How is the Index? I don't need a headset, but I've been eyeing it. Like I said, I have a Vive, so it'll run fine on that. But every time I see that Index, I'm like, that looks pretty cool. Okay, anyway. Enemies killed, frozen, critical hit. No, I don't want that. Increased critical chance. I don't want that. Increased chance to inflict ailments on enemies. Probably want that since it's ice. Increased damage. That's also good. Increased damage. That's also good. Let's up the ailment score. Am I backtracking again? No, I'm not. Okay. I forgot I was even playing this. You got me on a fucking... almost at a rant. It wasn't quite a rant. You piqued my interest with that question. There's a lot. 2020, outside of the things happening in the real world that are not as awesome, for gaming, it's a pretty incredible year. But you typically get that in gaming anyway when it comes to years of significance, like the year 2000, year 2020. That's stuff like that. They're like, oh, we got to release all the shit then because that's a significant point in time. So yeah, 2020 seems to be the year that everybody's like, we got to release all the awesome shit. Although the last 2 to 3 years have been, every year has had, since 2017, every year has been just fucking crazy when it comes to the games coming out. Like, there's not just like the one big game of the year anymore. There used to be that for a while. Now it's like all these huge AAA awesome games come out, and great indie games. Like, there's just so many good games nowadays. It's crazy. All positives except for some lens glare due to dual lenses. Otherwise fantastic. Get the Knuckles if you can before Half-Life, but pretty sure you won't be able to find them. Well, that's discouraging. I've humored trying those out. Just because I know Half-Life Alyx has support for those.